In case you haven't heard, it's officially in Abercrombie summer. The A&F Vacation Shop has everything on your packing mood board. I desperately need their new one piece, the A&F Marina. It's strapless, so flattering, and paired with denim shorts will be my go-to beach outfit this summer. Finally, your suitcase isn't complete without finding that dress. You know, the one for the photo shoot. Abercrombie's boho dresses have that perfect beachy, romantic look. Make it an Abercrombie summer. Shop their newest arrivals in-store, online, and in the app.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. From streaming to shopping, Prime helps you get more out of your passions. So whether you're a fan of true crime or prefer a nail-biting novel from time to time, with services like Prime Video, Amazon Music, and fast free delivery, Prime makes it easy to get more out of whatever you're into or getting into. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to learn more.
Turns me on to see her being like sexually pleased by another man in that situation, you know?
Yeah.
Because again, I felt safe. I talked to the guy. We had now met him. He's good looking. He's cool, but I didn't feel threatened by him at all. If I get to know them, even if they are tall or whatever, I don't care. Like, that doesn't bother me. It's just when I don't know them at all and I haven't had any connection and I haven't been able to talk to them. And to me, that's the key. So when I can get in that headspace, then I can really enjoy it.
Hi everyone, I am Fer, relationship coach and host of this podcast. Welcome to Polycurious. And today I have part 2 of my conversation with Didi and Alex. And honestly, I think this might be my favorite. I mean, I love both conversations, but the other one was a little bit more serious, even though we did laugh quite a bit. This one, there's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of really open conversation around sex. And it is really all about MFM threesomes, because that is something that Didi and Alex have explored together and that Alex has explored on his own as well a lot. And let me tell you, I've only had one MFM threesome and I enjoyed it so much. And since I've been trying to show other women how pleasurable and amazing it can be. So if you're curious about that, or if you're a guy that thinks that you might find it attractive, but you feel a little bit jealous or insecure, I think you're going to learn a lot from this episode. In Alex's case, for example, he didn't even feel comfortable. Like many years ago, he didn't even feel comfortable seeing his partner with someone else. And now it's become a kink of his. And I think it just goes to show that a lot of the times we just have to get over our insecurities, and sometimes you just need a little bit of practice. Sometimes you just need to reframe your mindset and start thinking about how hot this is. For example, in his case, there's an aspect that turns him on where he knows that ultimately Didi is his partner, and he's sharing and in a way showing off how hot his partner is. And some might say that the objectification there could be a little bit problematic, but as someone who has really enjoyed being objectified in bed, I can tell you that obviously, as you will hear today, it's something that can also be very, very enjoyable for a woman to be objectified in that way. If you want to play around with that idea, I think it can really turn things around and help with the jealousy and discomfort that might come in these situations. However, something that Alex also talks about is that something that's important to him is that he likes the guy, obviously, that they're going to have the threesome with. Obviously, Didi has to like him too. However, they got really creative in how they wanted to pick the person, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear. But I think sometimes it can be really intimidating if you have a threesome with someone that you think might be hotter than you, or taller, or that has a bigger penis or bigger boobs or whatever it is, right? So sometimes establishing that connection with the person first can really help ease those anxieties. So I really like that takeaway from today. Before we start, I just want to tell you that if you feel like you're struggling with non-monogamy, or even if you're just starting to think about opening up the relationship, if you are in a situation where you want to be open and your partner wants to be monogamous, any of those things, I'd be more than happy to help you as a coach If you want to book a free exploratory call with me, you can find a link in the episode description. If you like what you hear today and you want to connect with Didi, make sure to follow her at Ethically Non-Monogamous on Instagram, or check out her podcast where I was a guest, called The Non-Monogamous Spectrum. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Here's part 2 of my conversation with Didi and Alex. Didi and Alex, welcome back. Part 2. We had you on and we meant to talk about MFM Threesomes. I remember when you came to Denver and we had like a walk in the park, you mentioned that you wanted a MFM threesome and that you had Alex, your partner, kind of pick the guy for you. I think that was like how initially you wanted it to be, but then I don't know if that ever happened or not. Tell us, okay, so let's start there and see how things have evolved, because I think there's a lot of updates since.
Yeah, so the concept was Alex was finding some contenders, some options, guys that were interested and comfortable and experienced with MFM. And what was happening was I would go meet them for like a drink or coffee, and just to be like, okay, is the vibe there? What was happening was I was not finding myself like super attracted to them through conversation. And all of a sudden I was like, this isn't working this way. And I had listened to this podcast, and essentially this girl, one of our partners, they would hook up in hotels sometimes, and he would bring just like a random person in that she didn't know, but she trusted him so much. They were very established. She trusted who he brought in. And a few times she'd do it where she was just blindfolded and he would just invite this person in. So she wouldn't even see them sometimes. I got the idea that, hey, this might be a really good way for me to basically rip the Band-Aid off or break the ice, however you want to say it. And I figured, okay, meeting these people, because it's not about actually meeting them and like having conversation and trying to figure out if I'm like attracted to them that way. It really is just about the sexual experience. Then maybe I need to do it kind of this way, where Alex basically invites someone, but I didn't want to be that much in the dark. So I had him find some people, and he found like 5 or 4 people. And I said, okay, well, these 3, I just kind of picked based off of
She got to narrow it down, and then I picked from there.
Yeah. And then I was like, and then out of the 3, you pick any of the 3. So at least I know it's one of the 3. Yeah. But it's also still kind of fun because I didn't exactly know who it was. No, and it allowed me to still keep some measure of control, which I realized that since then we've had some other conversations where I'm not super comfortable and just her meeting some random guy off the streets and everything. I kind of said that I was what I was, and because I have been in the past, but like I'm not with her right now, and so having some level of measure of control is important to me. So what I did is after Didi narrowed it down to 3, then I picked one just based on different things and had a phone call conversation with him. And we just talked on the phone and just kind of said, hey, here's how it's going to work. You know, this is her first experience. I'm experienced in doing this. And, you know, we're going to set it up. I'll get a hotel room and I'll meet you in the lobby, and she'll be upstairs, like ready, and I'll walk up with you. And so we got there. We were just all ramped up about it. So I think she and I got there and we ended up like having sex at least once or twice before. I don't even know, but I know it was right before. And then we got there a little early, just kind of chill. Yeah. And then she kind of changed into help herself. Yeah, I couldn't help herself. I really like this. It's very much I say power. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but I enjoy this type of scenario, you know, when I'm in the right headspace. And so we were in a good spot. He texted that he was there and she had changed and gotten into something a little more sexy. And I said, okay, so I'm going to go down and you put the blindfold on and I'll be up in a few minutes, and I'm just going to knock on the door and let him in and let him come in first. Cause I kind of like doing that. That's when I've done experiences as the single guy in this situation, I like when the guy kind of has me go in first, you know, to
because it just makes it a little bit cleaner at first and then kind of joins in later or whatever, if they're going to watch whatever. But I told him I'd probably join in. So I went downstairs and met him, and he looked like who he was. And we chatted real quick, and it wasn't really much chatting at all. And I just said, all right, let's go. And we just got in the elevator and upstairs. And I said, yeah, so she's on the bed. She's blindfolded. I'm going to knock a couple times so she knows that it's us. And I'm going to let you in. And then, yeah, you're welcome to go and introduce yourself and just whatever. Just don't take off her blindfold, and I'll be in a little bit. And so
Did you give him any like guidelines, or were you just like, okay, like have at it?
We gave him some guidelines as far as like no anal, like that kind of stuff, right? And like you have to use a condom, and that kind of stuff. It wasn't that much, more just that. And so I let him in, and I think I maybe followed him in, but I went right into the bathroom, and then he just kind of went into the room, and I'll let Didi pick it up from there.
Yeah, he kind of likes to let, I guess, like, okay, have your like time, so that's like,
yeah, get to know each other a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also do that because as a guy, it like knowing that you have to wear a condom sometimes can get in your head too, right? And so like I've been in a situation where the guy is like directing everything, like, all right, now you do this and you do this, and it just feels too puppety for me, and then that'll get in my head, and if I have to have sex with a girl and I'm wearing a condom, it makes it harder, right? So I'm almost letting him do that because I feel like, look, if they're one-on-one, that he's going to be more excited, right? If I let him try it that way first.
Like he's not going to feel micromanaged.
He's not going to feel micromanaged. He's going to feel like I'm cool with it. Go get him nice and hard before he has to put that condom on. It's literally how it goes in my head. Sorry, babe. It's true.
No, it makes sense. Like it makes complete logical sense.
Yes,
well, no, I love it. We're giving all the tips to the listeners.
Yeah, it's a practical thing. Yep. Let the guy go, get his fluff on, and get nice and excited, and then I'll come in. Because you can get in guys' heads sometimes to have another guy there. But anyway, go ahead.
And like our rule is, okay, I'm in control of when the blindfold comes off. Like I get to decide when that happens. And I actually enjoyed having the blindfold on so much that I didn't take it off till like we were all done. Like I was just like, this is fun. Like I don't know, it was just all sensory without seeing anything. And I could definitely tell like who's kind of who, mostly because like he was definitely a hairier guy, and Alex has like no hair on it. He's like no hair on his body.
I'm like one of those cats, no hair.
He's like, so I'm like, oh, like it's really soft skin. Okay, awesome. Alex is still speaking through it too,
directing a little bit.
Directing a little bit, or just like, I don't know, you're part of the experience once you joined.
Yeah.
But it was very comfortable. I felt comfortable the whole time. I also wasn't in my head because I couldn't see Alex's face or reactions. I didn't have to worry about like, oh my gosh, is he okay with this? And also knowing he has complete control. I'm the one least in control in a way because I'm not seeing anything.
You weren't able to be very active. So in a way that released some of the pressure of like, is he going to be jealous if I do this or if I pay more attention to this other guy? Because you didn't really have much of a choice.
100%. Yeah. So it removed that completely. I didn't have to be in my head about a single thing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was kind of my favorite thing. When I've only had one MFM threesome, and that was my favorite part about it, that it just felt like I didn't have to do much, I was just thrown around and, obviously very consensually and everything, but it felt like, okay, great, I just sit here and then let things happen. And obviously I also participated. I wasn't blindfolded, maybe unfortunately. But yeah, you're less active than
like it's about
in other settings.
Yeah, it's kind of like them deciding who's doing what when.
Yeah,
like I'm not really the one deciding those things. And
he was a little younger, so he was very much like kind of like I was the one saying, "Go, dude. Hey, have at it." Have fun. I would take my turns, and you could tell when it was me because I'm not wearing a condom or whatever, obviously. But
many different factors.
Yeah, for many different reasons. But I still feel like I'm in control of those situations, and in those situations, I let go too, and it's really just about seeing Didi enjoy it and seeing her enjoyment, which turns me on, you know, and being a little bit in control of that is really, really hot. And you did orgasm that one. Yeah. She did orgasm that time as well with, you know, in that situation, which is great because we weren't sure if she would. She does when we have sex all the time, but like with others, it's kind of has been different. And so I'm just like, I want her to orgasm because that's kind of part of it for me. Like I want her to like enjoy and let go. Yeah. So after that experience, we did talk about a few things that we would maybe change a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Would you be open to sharing a little bit of like the adjustments?
Well, you said that you think the next one, you said, well, I don't think I need the blindfold for the next time.
Yeah, I was like,
want the blindfold for the next time.
Yeah, I was like, right? I don't want a blindfold next time. With this guy, the only bad thing about the experience was he smoked some marijuana beforehand, and I don't care for the smell of that. And so, like, I could smell it on him, and I was like, oh, and of course, being blindfolded, you're like,
you could smell it on him even though he was naked, or you could taste it when you kissed him?
No, we didn't even, and I told Alex, like, we didn't even kiss.
You didn't kiss? Okay.
No, I know, which was, that's not
so
like
wait, I'm sorry if this is like too personal, and feel free to deny if you don't want to answer my questions, but I'm curious, how did he start? Because I would have started kissing. I mean, that feels like the most obvious, but he just started touching.
100%.
I couldn't see his face, so I'm not in control, again, of that part. He did start kissing me, like, on my neck and stuff like that. But we never ended up, like, full on. And because I was blindfolded.
And did you talk? Were you, like, high or anything? Or he just, like, came up to you? Like, paint this scene for us, because I'm just, like, so curious.
So I told Alex, I was like, okay, well, at least... maybe when he comes in, you let him in and you guys come into the room, maybe just introduce him by name.
I did do that real quick. I did introduce him. Sorry.
Didi, meet Jack. Jack, meet Didi. And I just said like, oh, nice to meet you, Jack.
We did do that.
Yeah. And then he came over and he started saying things like, oh, you're so sexy. You know, he was talking and engaging. And then with the kissing, it was more like on my body. And then from there, it's kind of because I think it was that smell too. I was like, oh, I didn't like go in for a kiss. And then because he didn't go in for a kiss, it just didn't happen. And so he
must have smoked a lot of weed to have it like on his body.
I was like, I can smell it on him.
I didn't even notice, but I'll smell well. So
a lot of people smoke here, and so it's like.
I mean, I'm saying because I like weed, but I don't think I've ever like smoking so much weed that like I take my clothes off and it's still imprinted in my body. You know what I mean? But anyhow, so
it must have been his breath, because that's like. When I smelled it. And so then I wasn't inclined to go in and kiss him. And then he didn't make the move. Then from there, just like me laying on the bed. And then I'm pretty sure if I remember, like he probably went down on me for a bit. I don't exactly remember, but then it was more like oral, right? It started off with like oral. And then like kind of like Alex was saying, of course, then he's like hard. So now we can go into like he's putting on a condom, and I don't know exactly at what point you came in.
I want to know about the like the moment you took off the face mask.
Oh, so like again, it wasn't until the very like we were all done, and then we were just like on the bed because it was like, oh, okay, we're all good. Everybody came.
Hey, well, thanks.
And I said we took it off, and we're just kind of laying on the bed. Like we're all on the bed, and I was like, oh, hey, good to actually meet you, Jack. And then I don't know, it was just like super chill, right?
Yeah, he left pretty quick, and he was like, well, thanks, guys. You know, I got to get back to something that he was doing. I was like,
we talked for like
couple minutes.
Couple minutes. That was it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had a good experience, a good first experience. That sounds like a lot of fun. Are you seeing him again, or have you had any other MFM threesomes?
He definitely reached out.
All right, so he definitely reached out, but I kind of like was like, oh, we're just focused on, hey, that was awesome, but I think we're gonna focus on us for a little bit. I knew that because of the whole smoking thing.
I hope Jack doesn't listen to Polycurious. Poor Jack.
Because that was really the only thing
I always said, like, if we run into him, I'd be like, Jack, you know, like, super cool. I don't know.
So a little while later when we were talking about it, Didi was like, hey, so there's some single guys I've been talking to on Field, which I knew about, that might be interested. And she had mentioned MFM with one of them. And we'd already talked about that we might want that again. And so she introduced me to him and just kind of made the introduction on Field. And so then he and I started talking offline. Like we just texted back and forth. The same thing. Had a phone conversation. She had already vetted him.
Did you know if he had any experience with MFM?
Yeah,
he said
so my profile specifically was like, we're looking for couples, but also desire MFM. So it was still open to like where I would get likes and stuff from just single men. I was going through some of these likes, and because we talked about let's do that again, but find someone else, I just would click on some of these guys' profiles. And I saw this guy and he seemed a little bit older, which I liked. He said that he was experienced. I think I might have messaged first, but from now on, like I put it in Alex's hands. So I'm like, cool. Now that we've said hi to each other and you're interested, I think you might be a good fit. I'm going to pass you over to Alex. That was it. Pretty much Alex vets them after that.
Yeah. And I realize that that's important for me too, because I'm a pretty confident guy, I would say, right? But I can get insecure too, and so like there's certain, because she'd been talking to a guy like a few months before that I'd seen his profile and this and that, and like, oh, I'm a whatever self-made gazillionaire at 30 this, and he's 6'5" or whatever. I'm just like, I don't know that I want you just going to meet this guy randomly without me knowing this guy, right? As silly as it sounds, like that was kind of like I had to be honest with it.
Yeah, I'm glad you were honest. And it makes sense. Women feel the same way.
This guy was good looking, but we were the same height. Like little things like that. When I vet him, I'll ask him, like, I'll say, hey, just so you know, like, Didi's a petite girl, like, how big are you? Like I will let's flat out ask him. And he'd come back and he said, I'm a solid 6. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm bigger than you. Fine. It's a dumb little ego thing for guys. And that's not like, if a guy is bigger than me, that's not going to freak me out. But like, it doesn't happen often, to be honest. So it was like one of those things where it's like knowing that and talking to him, and he was mature, the whole thing. I felt really comfortable with him. I wasn't sure, because Didi had kind of connected with him first, if that was going to mess with my mind and the whole control thing. Mm-hmm. But when I talked to him, I didn't feel like that, because having been a single guy as long as I was, I could tell he was like me. He knew his role. He knew his whole thing. And we ended up having to reschedule with him. And he was really cool about it, right? Like we kind of texted him and was like, oh, this is a good test. And instead of being like, oh God, I moved my day around, he was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. I know I'm just here as an extra for you guys, like whatever. He answered, he said everything right. And I'm like, all right, this guy's a cool guy. I like him. Right. And so we set that up for him to come over one evening, probably a few weeks ago. And I will say that one really ended up being a good experience. I kind of just said, hey, look, I'll answer the door. You be in the kitchen and you guys say hi. And we kind of talked about, well, how am I going to know if you actually like this guy? She'll go, I'll just say when I'm ready, if I like him, I'll just say, hey, so do you want to go upstairs, to him? And that would be the sign. And so he ended up coming in, and I'll let you take over there from here, babe. Talk a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, he came in and we sat in the kitchen for a little bit, and
really not that long, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like already kind of giving me the attention or whatever. And I'm like, okay, good. Kind of like Alex said, it's important to know that this person's into you. So it was like, okay, he's interested, obviously. And then it quickly was like, okay, so like, should we go upstairs? And then we went upstairs. You were like, yeah, guys, go ahead. I think he did he kiss me downstairs? Right?
I think he even asked. He's like, is it okay if I kiss you like in front of me? And that was good. He and I had talked about that, and I had said, hey, listen, by the way, I'm comfortable with this. Like, I kind of want you to be a little bit aggressive with her. Obviously not over the top, but like, feel free to, like, she's beautiful, like, be forward with her. Like, I think she's going to want that. And so he did that, which was great. He came in, immediately sat right next to her, and he kind of like turned in there and kind of put his hand on her or whatever, like got really close and whatever. And I was like, okay, great. So this guy's experienced. He knows what he's doing. Right. And then when you said, like, really quick, like, all right, so you guys, should we go upstairs? Because like the small talk thing. And he kind of looked at me, and I was like, yeah, go have fun. Yeah. And so they went up there and into the bedroom. And then I kind of just stayed down there for like a minute and like kind of grabbed my drink. And then I kind of went up, and you could kind of peek into the room. I couldn't see, but I could tell that it looked like she was maybe giving him a blowjob. Is kind of what I gathered. And I could hear him, you know, happy about that, obviously. And so I just let them play until he started having sex with her for probably like a minute. And then that's when
And you were watching?
I did eventually. I was kind of standing outside the door listening. And then I kind of, after about a minute, I walked in, right? And he was there. And of course, and I'm just like, she's fucking amazing, huh? And he's like, oh my gosh, she's so, you know, like, of course, you know, that's a thing for me too, because I know how beautiful she is, but I love like hearing it from other people, obviously. And so they were having a good time, and we ended up probably more successfully than ever before. I'm not sure if I even told you this, where it was just like he would have his turn, and then he'd be like, all right, you want a turn? I'd have my turn. And then I'd stop and like, hey, you're the guest, you know, like literally we're talking like that. Like, come here, buddy, you know, and she ended up letting loose, I think, more in that she started like orgasming, like kind of over and over.
Well, yeah, I do that anyway.
Yeah,
the thing
you
is,
do that anyway,
me,
but yeah.
like, and even in the first one, I wasn't worried necessarily about orgasming. It was just more like, how quickly was I going to get there and that sort of thing. For me, I have like a vibrator, a toy, and that's always worked for me for forever, for years.
What kind of vibrator? Is it a clit vibrator or more like a dildo?
Clit. So I just need clit stimulation.
Is it like a sucking one?
No. I've tested a lot of vibrators.
Yeah, we've been going through them.
Which brand is this? Give us the tips.
Well, so the one that was my favorite, I try to find ones that are the least surface space, like, because I'll have the big ones that like are almost like the wand type ones or whatever, but then they're like so big and they get in the way depending on what position you're in. I was using one for a while that was kind of more like that, and that one works really well. Then I had like another one that is, I don't know what it's called. It's like Love Sense. It's one that's remote, but you can also stick it like inside, and then you're supposed to be able to like wear it. I don't know if you've seen those ones.
Well, we'll add the link in the show notes for the listeners who want to get that vibrator. We'll figure it out.
That one's meant to like, I don't know. You're supposed to like put it in you, and I actually just use it as a vibrator. Yeah. So I don't use it how you're supposed to.
Yeah, you love that one.
Yeah, and then I recently got the Lilo one, which is like specifically like a pinpoint one for your clit, which is really good, but it is also hard sometimes to like stay on because it's so precise. In this case, it was like, obviously I had all my toys. And then, yeah, you guys just kind of kept switching back and forth. Like they were just doing their thing. And like, I was also in our space that we normally have sex in. So like going into all the positions that we like we have a bench in front of the bed. We use the bench in front of the bed a lot. Yeah. And so like, I just came a lot, like over and over again. So both of them were like loving it. They were like, it just like Alex already loves it all the time, but I think for him to be like, yeah, man, look at what I have like on a daily basis was kind of like one of
right. I do want to talk about that because obviously you are also very aroused by this. What is it exactly that you feel aroused by? You mentioned that you feel aroused by her being aroused, but it also sounds like there's, as Didi was saying, an aspect of like, look at my girl, like look at what I get to do every day with her type thing.
There's definitely a little bit of a sense of ownership. We've talked about that, you know, and like the power and the this and that, and kind of like, I've often thought about it as like, hey, I've got this amazing baseball card, you know, whatever. And it's like, hey, you want to see my baseball card? It's amazing. You want to see how awesome this is? Like, hey, you're my buddy. I want to share with you. I like to share that kind of stuff, right? I mean, it's mine. I'm not going to give it to you, but you want to try it out? You know, like that's just kind of a thing. And so to see how much he was enjoying it and she was enjoying it, and then I was enjoying it in those moments. Yeah, I very much just feel like I'm trying to do something very nice for her, you know, but it turns me on to see her being like sexually pleased by another man in that situation, you know?
Yeah.
Because again, I felt safe. I talked to the guy. We had now met him. You know, he's good looking. He's cool. But I didn't feel threatened by him at all. You know, if I get to know them, you know, even if they are tall or whatever, I don't care. Like, that doesn't bother me. It's just when I don't know them at all and I haven't had any connection and I haven't been able to talk to them and understand that they know what, you know, like, to me, that's the key. So when I can get in that headspace, then I can really enjoy it. And so, yeah. It's all of those things.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting with the getting into your head because maybe the guy is taller than you or whatever. I think that, as I was saying, it happens to women too. Like for me, I'm also small, right? So I'm often think like, okay, if I have a threesome and the woman is like super tall, I'm like a tiny person. I also don't have the biggest boobs or ass. I like what I have, but seeing that difference, okay, yeah, it would be a little intimidating. So I also like to, when I have threesomes, to have women that are more or less my size, because that makes me feel more comfortable. But then I've analyzed this because I'm like, this is like ridiculous, you know? There's so many hot women that don't look like me. And then I try to like imagine it, and it can also be really hot if like the women look different. Like that can be attractive as well. But it's definitely something that trips me up sometimes. Like I'm not particularly attracted to blonde women. And I'm like, is it just because I want them to look like me? You know, like, I don't know.
I'm the same way.
Yeah,
brunettes.
We're both the same way. But for me too, it has so much to do with like me knowing them, me meeting them in person. It's almost like it matters. Like once I meet them in person, then how tall they are, whatever, everything else doesn't matter.
Right,
like,
right. But when you're picking them, you do.
I'm picking them. I want to have control of saying yes or no. And to me, that's like the most important piece of it. And so when I have that, then in this situation, like I know afterwards, Didi, as much as she really enjoyed it, she was like, you know, I loved it, but I think you told me like I didn't completely let go. Like I didn't know, was it okay to kiss them? Because at one point I was like, dude, kiss her. Like you're kissing. Like I maybe even said like, you guys can kiss. Like it's totally fine. Like they were kind of, and that doesn't bother me at all. Right. And so to the point where we even said like this next time we were like, hey, so he ended up trying to reload, but again, trying to reload with a condom is hard, and he struggled there, and he was like, guys, sorry, you know, we've been going at it for a while, and I said, no, totally understand that. And I looked at Didi later and we talked, and I was like, you know, if he went and got tested, you know, is that something that maybe we would invite him back, you know, without a condom? Because I know as a guy that's more enjoyable, right? And
as a woman too.
And as a woman too, right? And so Didi said yes, and he went and got tested. And so we were actually supposed to have him over a couple of nights ago, but we were both sick. And so we canceled it. And it's funny because literally right before we called you just now, because Didi and I have been talking about this, I texted him and I was like, hey, man, how's Monday looking? He responded, I was just about to ask you, we still good for 3:00? I'm like, let me confirm. So round 2 with him is probably going to happen this next week. And I'm super excited about it. I think that's great.
That's awesome. So we talked a little bit about why Alex feels aroused by it. What's arousing for you, Didi? I mean, there's obvious parts, but in your head, what's the narrative that makes it hot?
I think it's just having 2 men that are really into you or that can trade off. And I don't know, it's just always maybe been kind of a kink. I can think back to whenever I started watching porn, like that's always been a porn I've gravitated to. That and like group sex. I never watched 2 girls and a guy. Like sometimes I'd like run across it and I'd be like watching it and be like, eh. And so I'd always find 2 guys and a girl. I'm like, it would just turn me on so much. And obviously there are other factors to it, such as DP. Obviously that's something that you can't do with one person, like with one penis. So like I love anal, and it's something like I knew I would probably like. I didn't explore it so much in like my past long-term relationship. We never were like in this comfortable space where we ever really talked about it. And probably with Alex, when we started dating, it was like pretty much immediate. Like I think the second time you came over, you brought like butt plugs, and I was like, yes. Aren't
butt plugs the best? Like listeners out there, women, I mean, obviously men can use them too. I don't know, Alex, if you've ever tried it, but butt plugs are so good. Like you just put them in, you have your fun, even if you don't like anal, like full on anal, and like it just, everything feels better.
Exactly. It adds to the experience.
So was that second threesome your first double penetration experience?
No, we didn't actually do it that time. We didn't. We did a little bit on the first one, actually.
It was the first one.
Oh, okay. Because you had said that you had told him no anal, but I guess in this case...
He wasn't allowed in that.
Right. Like not anal for him, but
for
Alex.
Him, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'll be more gentle.
Oh, you'll be more gentle. Yeah.
So I'm not. No, we didn't the second time, just the first time. No. But the plan for... So another practical thing is, so we had the first time we had him come over, it was like a 7 in the evening. Now. Right, I know, if you could only see. 7 in the evening, and I'm really, I guess I was going to say pushing. I'm really encouraging Didi to also try not just DP, but like DVP is really hot for me.
What's DVP?
Double vaginal penetration. So
I see.
Yeah, 2, right?
Which I didn't even know was a thing.
Yeah, and as a single guy in a lifestyle, that's something that I was called to do quite a bit. Like that was like one of the kinks that people wanted to try, right? And so Didi and I talked about it, and she was like,
"Sounds complicated."
Wow. She's like,
"I'm sure you can make it work."
It definitely works.
Even regular DP, I've experienced it, but not with 2 men. Like I've experienced it with like a toy. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I always wonder, like, oh man, it sounds a little complex, like with 2 men. But I'm sure I'll eventually figure it out. Hopefully,
well, there's certain positions that work better for it, obviously, and everyone's got to be on board and be comfortable in the whole thing. And so, because like we wanted to try DP again, or Didi had expressed that, then she was like, so the next time he comes over, can it be earlier in the day so that practically speaking, she could be fasting or whatever,
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, no, that's a concern.
Okay,
there's just ways for it to be kept cleaner than other. Yeah.
Yes.
There's stuff.
So that's why we're talking about 3 p.m. on Monday instead of 7 p.m. because that will potentially make that available. We don't have to go there because at the end of the day, I just want to do it if Didi was feeling comfortable, in the moment. But,
and we honestly haven't done like that many times, like
we haven't
as well as like anal penetration.
Yeah, we haven't done it.
We have a few times, and every time it's been like thoroughly enjoyable. Like I
but
really
you love
enjoy
your butt plugs, baby.
Yeah, but like the butt plugs, kind of like you were saying, those are so easy. He loves when I use them.
Have you ever tried one, Alex? Because I came across like a guy talking about how they're great. And I mean, we know that men's G-spot supposedly is there, but I think there's like a stigma around that.
It's funny you mentioned that because we were talking about that this morning. So I've had one person like explore there with their finger, right? And I was like, oh, hey.
She like caught you off guard.
Yeah, it kind of caught me off guard, but I did not enjoy it. And Didi and I have talked about like, hey, if you wanted to, I told her, if you wanted to, I might be open to that, but I'm not like, it's not something that I ever think about or whatever. Like I think about doing it to her.
Well, but you've never tried it.
No, I've never tried it. No.
It's so funny, right? Because it's literally just stigma.
It is
right, because why it's not like your butthole is occupied when you have sex with Didi, right? Like you could both be wearing a butt plug and both be feeling good, and it might even feel even more pleasurable for you than Didi, and yet like you guys didn't think about it.
No, I'm just kidding. No. So here's the thing: where we have talked about is that like, so we were talking recently about she was talking about the whole maybe I'm more heteroflexible. And I said to her, and I was like, so if I'm being honest with you, like when you are DPing a girl, or even more so DVPing a girl, like as a guy, you're definitely deriving some of the pleasure from your cocks are right next to each other. I mean, they're touching and rubbing, right? Like, and so you have to kind of get into headspace. I remember the first time I was called upon to do it, I had to ask myself, like, I was almost like, am I gay? Does this make me gay? Like literally, I was just like, what the heck? And it was just such a mind fuck. But now that I've done it more, like it's one of those things where it doesn't bother me at all. I'm just like, yeah, it's just a pleasure thing. I'm not grabbing the guy's balls. It's just like, it's one of those things.
I mean, and with a butt plug, you are not even interacting with a guy.
There's not even a guy.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. No. And so, yeah, I've literally, it's never even crossed my mind that I would have a butt plug in me.
So wait, but are butt plugs for men a gateway for pegging?
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. First one's free and then the rest.
I mean, Didi, you could lend him yours.
Yeah. You can use mine. Well,
I don't like where this conversation is.
Hey, you'll thank us later. You'll thank us later.
We'll see you later. No, I'm just
kidding.
kidding.
It's great. Actually, fair. I love that you're bringing this up because it's definitely not anything I've ever thought of or even thought to be like, hey, why don't we explore this?
Honestly, I hadn't thought about it until I saw a guy talking about it on Instagram, and he seemed like a hetero guy. And I was like, that makes total sense. But like, same on my side, like I have one, but I've never had my partner used it. Mm-hmm. But I'm just like, if I was a man, like, fuck that homophobic shit. I know it's not intentional. We all live in this heteronormative world, but it's just like, we know that that's where your G-spot is. Like, aren't you curious to figure out what that means without having to have another man?
I mean, I wasn't before Dave. I'm just kidding. No.
Well, I'm glad we are opening your horizons.
He did say like, oh, like, because that one time they like just surprised him with a finger. He was like, I mean, I wasn't like, no. So like, if you wanted to do that, obviously if it's something you wanted to do and thought was
I mean,
hot,
at one point
like,
I was like, out, just pull out a little bit. That's too much.
Too deep. But so he's like,
uncle.
So like, maybe since he said like, oh, cool, if you just find yourself wanting to do that because you think it's hot, like, go for it. But now maybe I just have a little butt plug.
Well,
ready.
I mean, a finger is different, right? Like, I don't love, like, I would happily put a butt plug inside whoever I'm having sex with. But I don't love putting a finger in as much, because what if like it comes out dirty, you know what I mean? And same on the other way around. Like, that's also why I much rather wear one than like, and I mean, there's ways that you can make sure it's clean, or like maybe you trust your partner enough that like, even if like it came out dirty, you won't, like you'd be fine.
I will say that I could sometimes, even though I'm definitely more of a dominant in bed, sometimes I get switched, like when you get on top, right? And I'm just like, you take control. Yeah. Like that would be the time for you to try stuff. Cause I'm just like, all right, go for it. Like I also like that as a guy, even though I'm dominant, like 90% of the time, like if a girl gets that way and wants to take over, like that turns me on too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think guys occasionally, even if you are a dom primarily. Yeah,
having an aggressive girl get on and like whatever. Like when
it is a vulnerable thing. It does feel like a dom thing to do, right?
It does, and that's I think I'd have to almost be in that state of mind where she's like,
good to know, noted,
on me, just ripping my chest to shreds with her nails. Yeah.
Well, you guys let me know how it goes. Thank me later for the tip.
Yes, we will.
How you slap me?
Yeah, I slapped her.
Because I usually do it to her, and she was like, "Boof!" I was like, "Oh."
You're like, all right,
we're there.
And I like slapped.
I'm like, okay.
And you were caught off guard.
I guess the butt plug is next. Next time you slap me.
So you didn't find it hot. You were more like, okay.
No, I thought it was super hot.
Oh, you thought it was hot. Okay.
Yeah, I loved it, but it was I just wasn't expecting it. Like I slapped her, she like full on slapped me back. Like as hard as I slapped her, I was like, oh shit. Yeah.
Sometimes we get into these like little wrestling.
Oh, that's great. That would be the time too, possibly. Where she'll try to get away, but I won't let her get away. But then it turns sexual. Like, anyway,
like we definitely end up having sex.
Yeah.
I do want to quickly ask you, Alex, how you got so comfortable with MFM, right? Because I know that a lot of men have difficulty getting over that hump because of you're like, what kind of man, like, his woman, like, quote unquote, his woman, do this type of thing. Did you ever have any of that, or like the insecurities we were talking about? How did you manage to get over
that? The first person I tried the lifestyle with, I did not like even swapping partners. Like I thought I would, because every guy has that fantasy. And then the first couple times we did it, I remember looking over at her once and the guy's just going at it. And I'm just like, I don't like it. And I actually questioned it. And I said, I don't know if this is for me. Right. But then when we ended up breaking up and I was pulled back in as a single guy kind of randomly. I wasn't even looking for it. It just happened. Like I ran into a couple that I'd met at a party and they're like, where have you been? And I said, oh, well, so-and-so and I broke up and I thought I was out. And they're like, no, we really like you. You'd be a great manicorn. And I was like,
manicorn. Oh my God. I hadn't heard that term.
Unicorn. I was like, what is that? Like, I had no idea. She's like, there's a party in 2 weeks. Come as our guest. And they ended up going as a single guy. And there was like 40 couples there or whatever. And that's kind of how I got pulled in. So I ended up hooking up with a couple. And so they had me over and I ended up, and he just watched the first time, literally. He didn't even get, he just wanted me to have sex with his wife and he just enjoyed that. Right. But then eventually he started participating and then he would say, hey, she likes DP. Are you familiar with that? Are you good with that? And I'm like, oh yeah, of course I'm good. Whatever.
You had no idea.
I didn't want to say no. I don't remember how it happened, but through those experiences, I became more comfortable with, and I realized that a lot of guys enjoyed that to the point where when I then had a relationship later, I was like, oh, I kind of like this too.
I see. That's so interesting. So you were much more comfortable doing it as a single guy because you weren't sharing your woman or whatever.
Correct.
But then when you did it and you observed like, oh, these couples are actually great together and he's very much enjoying sharing her, then why wouldn't I enjoy it, right? And also just, I guess, getting more experience and comfortable in the dynamic. But sounds like, I guess for men who are maybe a little hesitant, maybe that can be a way in which they get a little bit more comfortable, like starting out as a manicorn.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things too, like, where Didi and I right now, we've realized, because we had talked about like trying to, her still trying to do things on her own and whatever. And I just kind of realized that I'm not comfortable with that right now. And what I am comfortable with is like the couple situations where we're both there, or the MFMs where I have some of the control and it's for her. I'd be comfortable with two girls, but she's not comfortable with that quite yet. And that's okay. So we're just like trying to figure out what works step by step. So that everyone feels comfortable. So it's just one of those things where it takes a little time sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you guys are not like, it has to be the same. I feel like that's a very common mistake people make of like, oh, because I'm comfortable with you having two men, you should be comfortable with me having two women.
Mm-hmm. But I will say it's taken me some years to get there. Mm-hmm. So that's like being more comfortable with that. Has taken
with the
me a
difference.
Yeah, it's taken me a while to get there.
Yeah, it's primarily because he's way more experienced than I am, so I get really intimidated. So I'm still coming into my own, like as far as my confidence in just this world of being more free sexually, and I just came into it right before meeting Alex, and so part of him saying he's not comfortable with me spending time doing solo stuff. I don't really want to do solo stuff, but I was on this journey where kind of like he was saying, he was pulled in as a single guy for a couple of years and really got to explore without the thought of anyone else. Mm-hmm. And then I was just trying to get into that and like figure out who I am in that environment and come into this like confident, sexual, independent woman. And then
she met this amazing man and she was like, shit.
Yeah. And then the universe had different plans for me. So we're trying to figure out how to like still give me space for that because I was just stepping into it.
But then also keep it safe for me. And we found that MFMs kind of fill that role to a point where like I feel comfortable with them and it still kind of fills some of that bucket for her.
Yeah.
Some of that bucket of feeling like she's still exploring without being too limited to because now she has a partner. Yeah, that makes total sense. Thank you for explaining that. It's just being honest and admitting where you're at and dealing with that, and where you're at is going to be different, and that's okay. But I'm curious, Alex, because you mentioned it took you a while to get comfortable with that. What helped you in that process if someone is feeling that way and wants to get a little bit more comfortable with things being uneven or unequal?
I think what's helped me is she's been telling me this for a while that, hey, listen, I want to have some of these experiences because I didn't have them. And I feel like you've had all the experiences. And she, kind of like we mentioned before, she's like, you're an Olympic swimmer and I'm still in the kiddie pool. Right. And so, and for me, I'd hear it, but I'd be like, that kind of sounds like bullshit. Like you had some experiences. And it was the pride. It was the ego. It was the kind of like, you just want to go fuck around and not have me do it. Right. It's kind of how it felt like for me. But a couple months ago, we were talking and she brought it up again. And I was kind of having a wall against it again and pushing against it and being like, no, babe, this sounds like, you just want to go to Vegas and have fun and just, I sit here and you wait for you, whatever. And for whatever reason, the way she explained it this next time, I saw that she was being sincere. And it's not that she's just trying to go sleep around with a bunch of guys and whatever. It's that she really does kind of feel like she's at this different level and that she wants to get more comfortable at it so that we can both be at this comfortable level. And I guess I just realized many things, one of which was that like getting her to that comfortable level with me at the same time is where we actually want to be eventually. And I think that'll be a beautiful thing for us when we do get there. But then I also really just kind of, the more I'm with her and the more I love her and the more I trust her, just kind of, I saw into her heart and I saw that she meant it sincerely. And it wasn't some type of, trying to one up me or anything like that. I had to hear it finally, even though she'd been saying it and I finally heard it. I had never heard that before.
Me coming from a reserved lifestyle that I was at and trying to figure out how to let go of some of this conditioning and everything is like going to benefit both of us. And I would tell him all the time, I wish I had already done this before we met. Like, I don't want to do it this way. Like, I wish I'd done it.
Yeah, you wish you were comfortable with threesomes with women and you wish you were comfortable with group sex right off the bat and all of the things.
Yeah, and I told him, like, when I met him, because he was married at the time, his ex didn't want to do all the parties and all that. And she was like, great, Didi wants to do that with you. And I was like, great, someone that I'm, like, very comfortable with and trust, but am not, like, is not my primary. Perfect. I would go to all the parties. I'll do all the things, right? Because there's a level of this person can't hurt me as much, as it is now. There's like much more invested. So it's scarier going into all these scenarios versus this is just my friend or like my boyfriend that's married.
Yeah, my boyfriend that's married.
That I fill this bucket for
I was expendable.
No,
not expendable, but like, I know.
There's like the psychological factor of that.
Yeah.
Kept it safe for me to where it was like, there's some safety here, but there's some safety also here. And so I was like, yeah, it was so exciting because I was going to fill that for you. And that was actually going to make your ex-wife super happy because you were going to get that filled. And she trusted me and was like, great, Didi's great for that.
And we're evolving and we're figuring it out, but we're taking it step by step and we're realizing that like we had to take a few steps back. We've taken some steps forward and we've been like, wait, hold on. If we're being honest with it, we're not ready. Let's take 3 steps back. Yeah,
because Alex wants me to be able to, at some point, I don't know, and maybe I won't need it, but exploring outside of us is kind of a harder thing for us to like, for him to wrap his head around. And I feel selfish.
But you wouldn't want him to explore independently and he's not comfortable with that, or he's getting comfortable with that idea?
I mean, I would like us to explore independently together if that's what we actually wanted to do. I feel like my reasoning for wanting to explore independently isn't because that's what I want long term. Does that make sense?
It's just because you were in this period of sexual exploration and you felt like it was cut short, and now you can only play with Alex, which is great, but you were in your slut era and it kind of ended a little bit sooner than you were hoping for.
Right. And the slut era has different energy, right? And that's energy that you do like...
you don't have to check in, like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, of course, if you were to date independently right now, you check in with Alex, but it's a little bit like, you don't have to be like, do you like this person? Like, is everyone feeling comfortable? It's a little bit easier as a single hot woman to just be like, oh, hot guy, you know what I mean? Like, it's easier.
Partially that, but also I think it goes back to he had to go be a slut for like a couple years, right? To where now he's like has all this like confidence and like experience to now take it to a relationship and be like, I know what the fuck I'm doing, and this isn't intimidating. I'm like he was in that moment of the swap in the very beginning.
Right.
Know?
Yeah, that
so we're
makes
trying
sense.
to figure out, how do I get to Alex's level? Maybe I don't need to play solo. We don't know. We're trying to figure out how to maybe achieve that without me having that solo, slut phase.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's kind of what I was thinking. I totally believe that it's awesome to have a slot era, like single slot era. I feel like it was important for me to have that. But also it does sound like you're having your slot era with Alex, right? So as you said, like maybe there's a way where you can have that in a partnership. It sounds nice. I've never gotten to explore with my partner because my partner is monogamous, as you guys, I think, know. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like that's something that I crave, so grass is greener if it makes you feel any better. But I like that you are just getting creative, right? Of like, okay, how do we make this work?
Yeah,
and I think
we're being honest about what we feel and how we feel, right? And I think that's the most important thing.
Well, thank you guys. This was amazing. Any parting words for people who might want to do MFMs? I usually ask, what advice do you have for a polycurious person? But since today we talked mostly about that.
If you need a good experience, no, I'm kidding.
Call us.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Alex's field profile link in your show notes. All of a sudden you get all of these hits on field.
Communicate, take it slow, and have fun.
And be honest about where you're at. Yeah. What needs to be adjusted. Yeah. Get creative. Like the blindfold thing was actually, it literally
help you ease into it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't work the first time, don't necessarily think that means that's how it's going to be forever. Maybe just in that moment, you needed to think through, you needed to have a better understanding, you needed to communicate, with your partner and whatever.
Yeah, I love that. I've seen in some field profiles, I'll try anything twice. So I like what you said, Alex, because, people say like, I'll try it once, but actually I think in non-monogamy, sometimes you have to try it twice to really know.
At least sometimes, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, and you can always tweak and figure out. Well, thank you guys. This was amazing.